Picture this: London, 1814. The hustle and bustle of Tottenham Court Road and the towering Horseshoe Brewery, a beacon of industrial prowess. This mammoth of a brewery had roots tracing back to before 1764 and was renowned far and wide for its porter. By 1810, the Horseshoe Brewery had harnessed the power of the Industrial Revolution, churning out beer on a scale previously unimaginable. The crown jewel of this operation was a new addition, a fermentation tank standing a staggering 22 feet high, capable of holding a mind-boggling 3,500 barrels of beer. A marvel of engineering encased in iron rings to withstand the immense pressure of the fermenting brew. Little did anyone know this impressive structure was a ticking time bomb, set to trigger one of the most peculiar and tragic disasters in London's history. The stage is set for a calamity that no one could have predicted. On October 17th, an ominous sign, a hoop on the 22-foot tank, slips off. It was George Crick, a diligent storehouse clerk, who first noticed the peculiar anomaly. A hoop, a critical component keeping the enormous beer vat secure, had slipped off. Now, this was not an entirely uncommon occurrence. In fact, such incidents would happen 2 or 3 times every year. George Crick, aware of this, wasn't overly concerned. The hoops were sturdy and had always been replaced without incident. He reported his observation to his boss, expecting a similar level of nonchalance. And indeed, his boss was not alarmed. He reassured Crick, asserting that there was no immediate danger. The tank had weathered similar hoop slips before, and it would weather this one too. The decision was made to fix the hoop, but not immediately. Instead, Crick was instructed to write a letter to another employee, detailing the hoop slip and requesting its repair at a later date. It was a decision made in the calm assurance of routine, a decision made with the confidence of an industry at the height of its power. But this time, things were different. This time, the hoop slip was not just another routine mishap to be fixed in due course. It was the first sign of an impending disaster, a hint of the cataclysm that was about to unfold. Yet in the bustling brewery, amidst the heady aroma of fermenting beer and the constant hum of activity, this warning went unheeded. The hoop was left unfixed, the tank left to its own devices. The day continued as any other, the workers oblivious to the danger lurking in their midst. Little did they know, the clock was ticking. Unbeknownst to them, each passing moment was bringing them closer to a tragedy of unprecedented scale. A disaster that would go down in history as the Great London Beer Flood. An hour later, an explosion echoes through the brewery. The sheer force, a testament to the power of fermented brew, sends the 22-foot tank flying, triggering a domino effect. One by one, other tanks succumb to the pressure, their sturdy iron rings proving futile against the unleashed force. This chain reaction results in a catastrophic loss. 8,000 to 9,000 barrels of porter, a dark, rich beer, are lost in an instant. But the devastation doesn't stop within the brewery's walls. Like a tidal wave, the beer bursts forth, cascading through the narrow alleys of the surrounding area. The St. Giles Rookery, a nearby slum, is caught off guard by the deluge. The beer, with nowhere else to go, floods the underground cellars where many of the city's poor have made their homes. Imagine the scene, a bustling slum, suddenly drowned in a sea of beer. The residents, their homes now inundated, scramble for safety. The air is filled with the scent of porter, a stark contrast to the panic and fear that grips the area. The slum, once teeming with life, is now a chaotic scene of destruction and confusion. New Street bore the brunt of the deluge, and the lives of its residents were about to change forever. The Great London Beer Flood, a tragic accident that will forever be remembered in the annals of the city's history, was only just beginning its deadly course. The flood claimed 8 lives, each with their own tragic tale. Unbeknownst to them, a torrent of beer would soon turn their ordinary day into an extraordinary calamity. Among the lost were 5 mourners, their hearts already heavy with grief, attending a wake for a 2-year-old boy. In a cruel twist of fate, their mourning was interrupted by a deluge of beer flooding the cellar where they gathered, transforming their sorrow into a more tangible, fatal despair. Another pair of victims were a mother and her 3-year-old daughter who had just settled down for tea. As they sat, the wave of beer crashed into their home, taking them both away in its frothy grip. Some accounts differ, suggesting that only the innocent child perished in the flood, her tiny life extinguished far too soon. The last confirmed victim was a teenage servant girl, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. She was washing pots at an outdoor pump behind the wall of the Tavistock Arms pub when the wall, unable to withstand the force of the beer wave or perhaps the explosion of the tank, collapsed onto her. This young life, full of promise, was snuffed out in an instant. There's also mention of a 3-year-old girl in some records, her life possibly claimed by the beer tide. In the midst of this tragedy, rumors swirl, adding a bitter note to the already tragic tale. Some say that the inhabitants of the area, rather than being stricken with horror, saw an opportunity in the disaster. They allegedly took advantage of the free-flowing beer, helping themselves to the frothy beverage that was the harbinger of such devastation. It's a chilling thought, the idea of celebration amidst such sorrow, but it's a testament to the resilience and resourcefulness of the human spirit. Yet these stories, whether heart-wrenching or bewildering, are all threads in the tapestry of the Great London Beer Flood. This event, so strange and tragic, serves as a reminder of the unpredictability of life and the inherent dangers in even the most mundane of our daily routines. In the wake of the disaster, the streets were drowned in sorrow and beer. The victims of this bizarre accident were mourned, their stories told and retold, echoes of a time when a river of beer brought not joy, but devastation to the streets of London. The Great London Beer Flood, a tragedy that left a lasting mark on the city. In the aftermath of the disaster, the Horseshoe Brewery faced enormous financial consequences. Thousands of barrels of porter, the brewery's primary product, were lost in the flood, a significant financial blow. Yet the brewery's financial woes didn't end there. Legal proceedings followed the disaster as victims and their families sought compensation for their losses. However, in an unexpected turn of events, the jury ruled the flood as an act of God. This unexpected verdict meant that the brewery was not held legally responsible for the catastrophe, and no compensation was offered to the bereaved families, further deepening their tragedy. The Great Beer Flood prompted a re-evaluation of industrial safety standards and practices. London's breweries and indeed industries across the nation began to recognize the potential hazards of their operations. The tragedy served as a stark reminder that industrial progress should not come at the cost of human safety. It spurred changes in brewery designs, with a greater emphasis on the structural integrity of fermentation tanks. Iron hoops were inspected more regularly, and the sheer size of the tanks was reconsidered, with smaller, safer tanks becoming the norm. The disaster also led to changes in London's urban planning. The lack of drainage in areas like St. Giles Rookery, which had worsened the flood's impact, was addressed in subsequent city planning efforts. The tragedy highlighted the importance of a robust drainage system, leading to significant improvements in London's infrastructure over the following years. The Great London Beer Flood serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of industrial progress and the importance of safety in the face of ambition. It's a lesson in history that continues to resonate, reminding us that progress and ambition should always be tempered with caution and respect for human life. As we raise our glasses, let us remember the lives lost in this tragedy, an event so unusual and devastating that it has seeped into the fabric of London's rich history. The Great London Beer Flood was more than an industrial accident. It revealed the harsh realities of life in the 19th century, the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the fragility of life in the face of industry. It prompted a re-evaluation of safety standards in the brewing industry, and to this day, serves as a stark reminder of the human cost that can come with progress. As we sip our brews, let's take a moment to remember the 8 souls who lost their lives in the flood, their stories forever intertwined with the history of London and its beer. So here's to the memory of the victims, to the lessons learned, and to the resilience of a city that has faced adversity time and again. May the Great London Beer Flood serve as a lesson to future generations, a tragic tale of industry, ambition, and the fragility of life.
Caught in the thrill of the game? Dive deeper with us. Hit subscribe to be the first to catch our latest content. To our loyal subscribers, your support is invaluable. Your engagement, likes, comments, shares, propels us to push the boundaries. So immerse yourself, engage, and inspire us to continually evolve. Thank you for being part of our journey.